Welcome back to Buy or Sell, the series where you pitch me your predictions for the theme park world, and I either buy or sell them and explain why. If you want your idea considered for the next video, leave a comment below starting with buy or sell. In this episode, we look at the West Coast and if any coaster will top Goliath in height, if the B&M family coaster has a bright future in the industry, and if Knott is ready to say goodbye to their most legendary coaster. This is Buy or Sell, episode 23. Let's start with Thrills Have a Beard. Gravity Group installs engineered pre-cut track on the Boss at Six Flags St. Louis. The Gravity Group has been doing a lot of work restoring wooden coasters. This includes Kings Island's Racer and the Beast, Kings Dominion's Grizzly, Lake Compounce's Wildcat, Megaphobia at Oakwood. It's becoming more and more common. Now, has this happened to any of the wooden coasters in the Six Flags chain? I don't think so. However, Six Flags just hired the Gravity Group to build the Bobcat at Great Escape, so maybe that opens the door. Still, I'm selling this. I think if Six Flags makes a major investment beyond a basic retrack for the Boss, they'll go with RMC. Apparently, this was on the table a few years ago and it got shelved. And now that Six Flags seems to be back in the budget coaster game, RMC Boss would make Six Flags St. Louis a destination, way more than a fancy Gravity Group retrack. Cotton Brahman. Falcon's Flight will become more overrated than Millennium Force, and it'll take over the Best Steel Coaster category in the Golden Ticket Awards. Falcon's Flight made news a few years ago. This is the headline coaster at Six Flags Qiddiya, currently under construction, and they still claim it's going to be the world's tallest and fastest coaster. Based on the animation, which looks kinda ridiculous and unrealistic, it doesn't seem like it'll be overrated. It looks amazing. How it'll end up, who knows? As for the Golden Ticket Awards, I don't care how great the ride is, it's not taking the #1 spot. I'm selling that. For one, the Golden Tickets are very American-centric, and it doesn't help that Falcon's Flight is going to be in Saudi Arabia. You think that not enough Golden Ticket voters ride the coasters in Europe and Asia. I'd be surprised if even one of them makes it to Saudi Arabia. It'll make the list, but it won't be close to #1. Talon K Official. Tidal Twister will get removed in 2024 or 2025. Tidal Twister was one of 2 Skyline coasters that I call flat ride coasters. Some even say this is a flat ride and not a coaster, and maybe they have a point. The other one was Harley Quinn at Discovery Kingdom, and that lasted pieces of 2 seasons and then got scrapped. Tidal Twister has gone on longer than that, opening in 2019, but as of 2023, it's been shut down and a lot of people think it's done for good. I'm one of them. I'm buying this. At first, it was listed as temporarily closed. Now, I can't even find the ride on the website. It's had issues since the start, even had to have the fire department evacuate the ride in its opening year. It sounds like more trouble than it's worth. And they could just as easily put an exciting flat ride on this plot of land. It's problematic, it's gimmicky, it's not very good. Just move on. Ryan DeRizzle. The West Coast will get a full circuit coaster taller than Goliath before 2030. Once upon a time, this looked like it was going to happen for sure. Knott was planning on building a big giga coaster, but that was shrunk down to a hyper, and then it went on the back burner. The problem with this idea is, if it's not going to be Knott's, what else could it possibly be? San Diego has strict height limits. Disney and Universal are not going to go over 255 feet. Great America was planning a hyper, but that park is scaling down before its closure. And even if they did get a hyper, it wouldn't be over 255 feet. Discovery Kingdom has a strict 150-foot height limit. That's why the Flash looks like this. As for Oregon and Washington, forget it. Their parks are way too small for this. Unless Knott's changes their mind, I'm selling this with confidence. There would have to be a brand new park opening up. That doesn't seem likely anytime soon, and even if it did, would they build a massive hyper or giga? Don't count on it. The Hershey Dog 17. A bunch of Aero mine trains will be removed by 2030. There were a ton of parks that got Aero mine trains between 1966 and 1997. Every new park that opened in the 60s and 70s needed this, and here we are about 50 years later, and just about all of them are still in operation. I think the only one that's completely gone is Excalibur at Astroworld. That was taken out and sent to Frontier City, but it was never rebuilt. The oldest one is Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Over Texas. That's wrapping up its 58th season, and there's no signs of it being removed. I'm selling this. I can't imagine what could happen between now and 2030 that would cause a bunch of mine trains to close, or even a few to close, or even one. I'll have to see it to believe it. Euros SBU 5532. Accelerator will be removed in 5 to 10 years. Accelerator has been closed for a long time now. I last rode this after its repaint in early 2022, and it closed the next month. It was seen testing recently, but it's still not open. Knott has obviously poured a ton of work into this, and they want to preserve it. For Top Thrill Dragster, they went with a long-term solution, tearing out the hydraulic launch and going with an LSM swing launch. I can't see them doing this for Accelerator, so I'm buying this. I think their current project is a temporary solution, more of a band-aid than an actual fix, and I think the clock is ticking on Accelerator. I think they'd ride this last round of maintenance for as long as they can, but within 5 to 10 years, I would not be surprised if it's gone. Sir Boss K. Montezuma's Revenge will never reopen. Speaking of knots, there's another problematic launch coaster on their roster, and this one's on shaky ground also. Montezuma's Revenge is the last Schwarzkopf shuttle loop in the country, using that flywheel launch, going forward and backward through a loop, and up and down 2 big spikes. It's a simple ride, but it's a legend, and it's even been honored by the American coaster enthusiasts as an ace coaster landmark. With every other coaster of its kind being removed, you knew that Montezuma wasn't invincible, and sure enough, in 2022, Knott's closed it down for a major refurbishment, saying it would reopen in the summer of 2023. On top of that, it would be part of the new Fiesta Village. We did see Fiesta Village reopen this summer, but Montezuma was not part of it. They were going to change the whole ride experience, replacing the launch from an old-fashioned flywheel to the more modern LSMs, and they would give it new trains. Yes, now with comfort colors that nobody likes, but it would also include a randomized launch, so you didn't know if you were going to start forward or backward. This was even going to have a new name and theme, Montezuma, the Forbidden Fortress. When the park makes an announcement like this, the rumors start to fly. It didn't help that even going into the summer, there didn't seem to be any work done on the ride. People thought the contractor had backed out of the project, or the original price that Cedar Fair got was grossly underestimated, and while they settled this dispute, work was put on hold. This all looks bad. There hasn't been much transparency from the park, aside from the initial announcement. But, according to Screamscape, there was a breakthrough back in July, and they're ready to get this back on track and ready to open in 2024. Because of that, I'm selling this. Things can fall apart again, so it's not 100%, but that last rumor is promising. Plus, the park knows how important the ride is. I don't think they're giving up that easy. If they can work it out, they'll work it out. It would be a shame if this was the end of Montezuma's Revenge, and it was all thrown away after we thought it was coming back, new and hopefully improved. Nat 5300, Top Thrill 2 experiences more downtime than uptime in its first year of operation. This is a great question. Obviously, Cedar Fair is doing this to make the ride more reliable, but every new ride has its problems that has to work out. Top Thrill 2 is going to have a lot of moving parts. Those LSMs, going forward and backward, the switch track. It's definitely something to be concerned about. As much as Cedar Fair seems to dislike Intamin, it's Intamin that's done really well with this technology. Pantheon, Hagrid's. This multi-pass launch and switch track is something that they've dealt with, and as far as I know, those rides run without a lot of issues. Will Zamperla be able to do the same? I don't know. Nobody knows. They haven't done it before. So, I'm guessing here, but I'm gonna sell it. I think Top Thrill 2 will have some problems, but it won't be that significant, and it definitely won't outweigh the ride's uptime. For everyone trying to get on it, for their sake, I hope I'm right about this. Mr. Baseball 4. The B&M Family Coaster will catch on and spread throughout major chains. We have a pair of B&M Family Coasters coming in 2024. One is Penguin Trek at SeaWorld Orlando, and the other is also coming to Florida, the inverted family coaster Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens, Tampa. This is an exciting development for B&M, opening up a whole new market, after building their first 2 inverted family coasters in China 5 to 10 years ago and nothing since. Both of these are going to the SeaWorld chain, and that's significant for this question. There are so many options when it comes to family coasters. They're usually basic, small scale, compact, nothing too fancy. Sometimes you see a family coaster go above and beyond, something like Hagrid's or Fire Chaser Express, but a lot of manufacturers offer a family model, and I bet most of them are cheaper than B&M. Zero, Zamperla, Mock Rides, Vekoma, Skyline, even RMC is trying their hand at the family coaster model. I think most parks and chains are not going to spend more than they need to for a family coaster, and a quality option at a lower price is going to win out. I'm selling this. I don't think we see a lot of parks buy a B&M family coaster, at least not in America. We will see how Penguin Trek and Phoenix Rising are received, and that might change everything, so stay tuned. Peterson Cooper 7292. SeaWorld San Antonio gets a top-tier coaster by late 2025. 2025 is kind of a short timeline, but it could happen. They were supposed to get Catapult Falls this year. That's the world's first launch log flume, and that got moved to 2024. Normally, I would say a park has to wait 3 or 4 more years before another investment after one like this. But this isn't just any park. It's part of the SeaWorld chain, and they pretty much guarantee a major addition for each park every year. Because Catapult Falls is not a coaster, Neither was their last big ride, Tidal Surge in 2022. I could see their next ride being a coaster, and I could see it coming as soon as 2025. I'm buying this. I'm less confident it'll be a top-tier coaster, but it'll probably be a thrill coaster. I would not be surprised to see a premier ride Skyrocket 2 here. Paul 93221. Six Flags Great America removes Demon and replaces it with an RMC single rail for the 50th anniversary. This has been a topic of conversation for years, but now I think it's serious. It's been down a lot, and I was surprised when I went in June it actually opened. Then, in July, I heard the rocks around the loop fell apart and landed on the track. They took the rockwork down and they reopened it in mid-October. I think the thing to keep your eye on is the rockwork. If they keep the ride open but never replace it, I think the ride's on borrowed time. If they do replace the rocks, they probably have no plans to take it down. I think it makes sense for Great America to get a coaster for the 2026 season. That's their 50th anniversary, so if Demon's the one getting the axe, it has 2 seasons left. It doesn't make sense to make major investments into a ride with 2 years to go. I'm buying this. I think they keep it open. They announced that 2025 will be its 50th and final season, and we see that single rail take its spot. Demon takes up a narrow plot of land about 845 feet long, and Jersey Devil also has a narrow plot about 631 feet long. This is an easy fit and a prime location in the park for a new large-scale Raptor. It's all good. Smiler's inversion record will be broken by an American park in the next 5 years. America was all about the inversions back in the 70s and 80s, but it seems like nobody is interested in passing the 7 inversion mark. Parks these days aren't looking as much for inversion machines, but even when they do, 7 is a lucky number. There is one coaster that broke this mold, Steel Curtain at Kennywood. This has 9, and after 5 seasons, it seems like it's a technical failure. It has so many issues, and maybe that's turned a lot of the parks off. It's not really the inversion's fault, blame SNS, but the only prayer this has of happening is some major park aiming for a marketing gimmick. I'm selling this. Other parks around the world seem to place a lot of value on inversions. The UK alone has 2 coasters that have 10, not even to mention the Smiler with 14. The UK is the size of Texas, and it's got 3 coasters that would break the American record. If that record is going to be broken, it'll probably be in Europe or Asia. If it does happen in America, I'd guess it'd be at a major Cedar Fair park, or maybe Hershey Park. Cedar Fair does work with Gerstlauer, and they were the ones that did 14 with their Infinity model. It does seem like something Cedar Point might do to make a splash. Still, I think it's a long shot. That's a wrap on episode 23. Let me know what you think of any of these topics, if you agree or disagree, and why. Also, don't forget, if you want your idea considered for the next video, leave it in the comments below, starting with buy or sell. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. I have a playlist with all of the buy or sell episodes. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server. That has a new section where you can find nightly news summaries in the theme park world, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to love baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.